Oh, here we are. Live. And there's Mr. Luther. What's going on today? What's up, Doc? Mr. Lawson. Cool. How are you, sir? How we all doing tonight? Almost went to bed. I've been fighting my eyelids for a while. Sitting at the desk. Well, that's about what I did today at work, too. Sat at my desk. God, these freaking glasses are just screwing with me. I don't know which is better. Read them without them or with them. Still up where, Michael? No. I'm back down south. Been down south for a couple weeks again. But yeah, Jonathan, sometimes it's nice to get a break. I had some stuff to work on, but every time I start working on it, they'll bring me some ticket back, some BS oil change, tire rotation, fix my airbag, something like that. But no, I just got done finishing building a 9T65 in an all-wheel drive Traverse, and was in the process of putting it back in. I'm just about done with that, so tighten up a few things. Let's see, won't be there Monday. Got some things to take care of here, so a 5,000-watt Subaru Jenny. Yeah, I was watching one of the other guys I watch on YouTube is the Bus Grease Monkey. That guy knows the old Detroits like nobody's business. Just very impressive guy. But anyway, he lives up in Tennessee, and he was talking about it was snowing in April and crazy weather. Hi, Scott. How are you tonight? Doc, what's Jenny for free? Oh, generator. I'm sitting there trying to think of what you're talking about. Generator. Oh, well, that's not a big deal putting rings in one of them. Yeah, dude, I get a kick out of watching that guy. He is so freaking smart. When it comes to those old 8V92, 6V92, all the old Detroit two strokes. And I got to be honest with you, I love them too because we actually when I went to school, and I'm going to date myself, but it was back in 1991. We had an 8V92 in the shop to work on. Ended up having to have a piston and a liner. And before we got out of our class in that, it was a 2-year course in 48 weeks. It's one of those accelerated courses. It was Monday through Friday type of deal. and each one of the classes were like 3 weeks. But anyway, yeah, before we left, they had it running. Smoke's really bad. Well, that's no good. Hopefully, it doesn't have a hole in the piston. Well, you said it runs, so I'm assuming. Excuse me, it wouldn't have a hole in the piston. It could just be the rings are froze up too, Doc. Especially if it's been sitting for a while or had rust in the cylinder wall, or in the bucket, I should say. That reminds me, I probably ought to get ours out of the garage and change the oil on it. Just get it ready for the next time we got to use it. Doc, my grandfather was a mechanic, uh, diesel mechanic, in the Army. Well, he was a mechanic all the way around, but yeah, he worked on a lot of the Macs, and Macs are pretty cool engines too. Uh, little FYI, if you've watched The Road Warrior with Mel Gibson in it, that truck they start up out in the middle of nowhere, that was a Mac. It's crazy how they used air starters on those. If you didn't have any air, you're kind of screwed to pooch. Michael, on yours, usually a wrist pin will make noise all the time, whether or not it's hot or cold. When it warms up, it quits and runs pretty good, but using a lot of oil. My guess is, Michael, that it's got a little bit too much clearance in a cylinder wall. Either that or it might have a cracked piston skirt itself. Um, it's quite possible. I mean, I would be looking if it uses enough oil, I would look at your plugs and find out which hole you've got a problem in, because it'll show up on the spark plug because it'll be fouled with oil. But I would start there and see if you can find out which hole it is, and then go for there. And Jonathan, on the Camaro, no. Um, Seeing as everything's going on right now in the world, I'm trying to be responsible, and I put back a stash, um, just to be on the safe side. Um, Is I mean the whole world's in a huge ass mess right now. Um, so I I've kind of put everything on hold except for maybe if I get a project out in the shop or something, but I'm not going to get involved in something major right now. Um, I've got millions of things in personal things that I'm taking care of right now, so everything's kind of on hold. Michael, if number 3 is wet, then I would say that that's where I would go with it. Um, Depending on what it's in, if you could get it out in a car, it might save you a little bit of a hassle. or a truck. I mean, if it's two-wheel drive truck, it's gravy to get one of them out. I'd whip the cylinder head off of it and pull that rod and piston out and inspect the piston real close. It could have been that it maybe broke a ring or something, but I would look to see if you got too much clearance in that wall. It's real easy to do, and LSs were notorious. I don't know if y'all remember when they first come out with LS back in '97. There were so many complaints, especially if northern states where it got cold. People drive them things, and they would just rattle their head off. And it was because of the clearance that they put in the cylinder walls for the pistons. And so the pistons would rattle until they warmed up and expanded enough in that cylinder wall to take up the clearance. There were so many complaints on it, especially Corvette and Camaro and Trans Am owners. Man, they were complaining about that, but that's just how it was built. Doc, I can't believe they confirmed Jackson either, but you knew it was. It was anything that the Dems can do to push something through that they want. And I missed the 45 speaking tonight. Um, the Did you see something just popped up on my news feed? I guess Gail Banks is going to run for president in 2024. I'm At least I don't know if it's a hoax or not, but it came up. It was on Banks Power's YouTube page, but it popped up on my screen before I got live here. Yeah, as in Banks Diesel. Jonathan Witch Freak Show. There's a lot of them going on. There is a ton of them. They're talking about all the misinformation, malinformation, disinformation, this and that, and what have you. And I think it's all, I think it's all corrupt anymore. I don't know what to believe. Yeah, well, yeah, I agree to that, Jonathan. And I guess there was another headline I read on one of the deals is Biden rages war on big oil. This guy is just a complete idiot. I just That's all the only thing that's putting it politely. I could think of a bunch of other names to call him, but I mean, somebody needs to grow some kahunas and figure out a way to get this boy out of office. That's all there is to it. Yeah, Doc, that's just bad. And the fact that she couldn't answer when she was asked to define woman, she answered her best answer was, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not a biologist." I'm thinking, come on, are you not a woman? Um, or are you a transgender? I don't know, but yeah, that irritated the crap out of me. Jonathan, I'm right there with you. I'm I have not seen, and the bad thing about it is we know he hasn't been pulling the strings, and now it's coming out that Abomination has been doing it the whole time, which does not surprise me. This would be some kind of BS that he would pull. Michael, how hard is to put in a covert servo, and I was pulling, and I think I stressed my 4L60. 4L60 got hot. And I'm thinking to drain the fluid and filter and new servo might help. Yeah, I mean, the servo's pretty easy to do. You can do it in the vehicle. I mean, just pop the cover off. You'll get, when you order a Corvette servo, you'll have to swap the guts out from your old servo. You'll have to take the spring out of it. There's a cushion spring in there, just a little E-clip on the back, some seals, and use your same pin and go back together with it, and it should be good. But yeah, if you got the fluid really hot to the point where it told you it was hot, then I would definitely change the fluid for sure. Um, and if you're pulling with anything, especially on a 4L60, um, don't use overdrive. And Michael, if you don't put a longer pin in there unless you measure it and find out if you can put a longer pin in it. Because if you put too long a pin in it, it'll burn the band up. Put too short a pin in it, it won't engage. So that's kind of a critical measurement. Um, you say you stressed it. I mean, what was it doing? Was it missing gears or anything like that? POTUS potato has got to go. I absolutely agree with that. Doc, I just caught that. Uh, yeah, don't we all wish we could put a longer pin in? Shop talk 1012. Absolutely. Um, don't have no hot at 250. Then I slowed down and I don't know if that's incomplete, Michael, or I'm not quite understanding. If it got to 250 and slowed down and it cooled to 200, um, yeah, like I said, I mean, if it was me, I wouldn't tow, especially if you're towing something decent weight with that transmission. You don't want to use overdrive at all. Um, use just regular drive. It'll supply better cooling. Of course, you're not going to be able to go 70, 80 mile an hour. I mean, you shouldn't be doing that much when you're towing anyway. Um, 60 to 65 is plenty fast when you're towing a good sized trailer, or any trailer for that matter. When we tow my fifth wheel, I don't go much over 65. Um, it's not that the truck won't pull it. That's beside the point. It'll pull it as fast as I want it to go, but the tires aren't rated for it. It puts a lot of extra stress on the truck. Yeah, I don't usually go that slow, Doc. It just depends on what the load is. Um, I learned quite a few things towing that box trailer back and forth uh, to Missouri 11 times about what speed's best for towing and weather conditions. And I know with an empty box trailer, you're definitely going to go across 24 in Tennessee when it's windy and rainy, because it puts the whole truck sideways in the middle of the highway. I had to almost like to clean my shorts out. Well, I don't know, Mike. Does it still move? Does it still shift, or is it just done all together? Because that Corvette servo, or either any of the servos, only does second and fourth gear. Um, if you've got no Ford, then there's a possibility that it is smoked. Well, again, it's possible, um, but I would definitely. Well, I mean, pull the pan off and look. I mean, if you're afraid of something like that, yeah, just drop the pan. Look see what the bottom of your pan looks like. If you got a bunch of clutch mud in it and a bunch of other stuff, then quite possible it's probably cooked the clutches. Um, if it doesn't look bad, maybe it just smells bad. Because if you got a burnt transmission, you'll smell it just as soon as you drop the pan. It's the most rancid smell. Uh, Probably one of the most rancid smells you'll ever smell, other than burn up rear end. That's got to be the worst. But yeah, drop the pan. See if you got a bunch of clutch mud in there. If you got a bunch of clutch mud in there, more than likely it's plugged the filter up. Uh, so, if it's just mild or not too bad, then yeah, I mean, there should, usually there'll be like a real light film on the bottom of the pans, um, depending on, the age of the transmission and how it's used. Um, but there should be a round magnet in the bottom. Oh, 170, it's probably done. Um, it usually has a magnet in the bottom of a pan too, and if it's got a big flower from metal stuff on there, chances are it's cooked. But 170,000, if it's never been overhauled, it's due, especially in a pickup. You caught that, huh? Yeah, it's probably done. There's a running joke about the Chrysler 704 or 704. It's the 4-speed that they put in all the Chrysler minivans. Uh, they've got a running joke that they were the older ones were good for about 100K. If you got much more than 100K out of that transmission, you were doing good. Then it was time for a rebuild. I get some more. Yeah, this time of night the cats are a little lazy. You've done a few, but you're not done your own yet, Michael? Man, what's up with that? Everybody's done their own, says nobody. Thud. Yeah, most of the time, the older Zoe, which she's directly behind me, you can't see it because of my big old shoulders, but she pretty much sleeps all the time. She's getting old. I just lost Socks, my cat, about 6 months ago, and he was 18. I think he had a stroke or something, but he was a good cat. He really was. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, they're wanting a fourth and a fifth jab now. Well, that's not good, Michael. Yeah, Jonathan, that's kind of where I'm at since I work on them every day, all day. And I'm going to tell you, the dealership life ain't getting no better. Uh, Half the time when I get home, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to do it. I don't want to work on anything. Yeah, I still got the three out there. I really want to get back on that donor one of these days. I want to find out if that engine runs in that thing. I think it will. I mean, it turns over. I did get a starter for the thing. It has that big old freaking 10MT starter. I got an LT1 starter stick on there. It's about half the size and draws half the current. And man, I don't know, Jonathan. It's been sitting for quite some time, but I got new injectors for it, and I got that. You can go back and watch the video of my little portable fuel cell I made for it. One of these days, I'll get time to get back out there and do something with it. And I've got all these projects at the house going on. No, I'm not. I don't have a vet. I wish I did. Um, I really want to. I really want a C4. 91 to 96 is what I'd really like to have. I seen one the other day that was bad ass. It was that like a dark candy wine color, and it had some bronze uh, colored um, looked like forge lines on it. Oh, it was bad to the bone. God dang, that thing was beautiful. I'd like to, of course, don't really want the ZR1 motor, the LT5. Um, the early models of the LT1 were okay, but the later model ones ran a little better. But I still like the tune ports too. Yeah, I seen one the other day. They did a test on one, just a mild set of AFR heads, 180cc heads on a 355 um, with a ZZ9 cam in it. And the thing made like a good solid 300 60 horse and like 450 foot-pounds of torque, and it had a real flat torque curve. And to me, that's like a perfect street engine. To me, something that you could drive every day. It's not going to kill you on gas, not going to be screaming at you all day long. Just be enjoyable to drive and, have great get up and go. Doc, those 5.7s were great. My dad, I ordered him when I worked at another dealership. I ordered him a brand new Tahoe, uh, 99, 350 with 373 gears front and rear. Had the heavy duty cooling, the heavy duty trailering package on it. The only thing he did not want, he didn't want leather, but it had rear air on it, the whole 9 yards, and it was great. And when he was wanting to get out of it, I could have bought it from him, and I didn't. I wish I would have, but that was a great truck. Doc, it depends on what the 4.8 is in. If it's in the truck, I wouldn't touch it because, uh, it's a heavy vehicle, and depending on what you want it for, I mean, you could put a little bit of a cam in it, um, headers, something like that, but not much you really need to do to those unless you want to put a supercharger on it. Michael, that is a big. They made huge leap and bounds. A lot of that engine was derived from the LT1. If you didn't know that, uh, the LS was just a refined version of the LT1 with a better bottom end, but a lot of the design characteristics are similar in on those two engines. And I speak to that on the cooling system. But the LS has got a really good, strong bottom end. Um, that same design bottom end they share with the 2.2 liter Ecotech, the 2.4. They share it with a high feature V6 that they've got out, which is a 3.6 liter. Um, really stout bottom ends. We don't hardly see any problems with the bottom ends of those at all. Wow. Doc, I've got my old Bessie, my 2002 Escape's got 286,000 on it. It's still cooking right along. But Doc, to be honest with you, I wouldn't change much, maybe other than put a cam made more for torque. Because if you're in a 2500 van, that 4.8's working. Michael, not so much as the 6-bolt mains as the fact that they got the longer block configuration with the side bolted mains. That's what uh, makes it so strong on the bottom end. Jonathan, I'm in the same boat. That's why I don't want to do that on mine either. It says, I'm just going to stick with the Gen 1. I'm good with that. Doc, that's true, but the pickup is still in the same spot. The only reason why they moved to the front is they got rid of the distributor, so they had no way to drive the oil pump. So they drove it off the front of the crank. Ooh. Michael, that transmission's been around for a long time, and it's done well and served its purpose, and it's easy to repair. So uh, it can be made to hold quite a bit of power. I built one for CJ and CJ and AJ, buddy of mine's boys, and CJ drives his around every day in his GMC truck, and that truck ain't stock by any means, and he's pretty hard on it, and it's still cooking. Oh, damn it, Doc. Oh, that sucks. Usually the pump rod isn't what strips the little plastic bushing bust off of it, and the rod comes out of the pump, and then that's what usually happens. Either that or it strips the distributor gear. Michael, it depends on what kind of power you're going to put in front of it, whether you need all that stuff. Uh, the stock input housing's fine up to probably 400 or 500 horse without any problem. 5-gear plants, making sure the clearances are all right on the clutches is more important. The most critical component of those is the oil pump. Make sure your oil pump's right. Make sure your valve body's right and that's not leaking. Those two are the most critical spot of any transmission, especially that one. If those aren't right, you're just building yourself a grenade. You got to make sure that it's leak proof and doesn't leak anywhere, and it'll give you good long service life. Jonathan, have a good night, buddy. Thanks for stopping in. No, the input drum they didn't really have a lot of trouble with. The sun shell they did. Key components of those to replace on almost every rebuild. Almost any rebuild that you do on that particular transmission, always replace the sun shell with like a heavy duty version, like a Beast. Make sure you have a 29 element Borg Warner. Watch out for them knockoffs. Get a 29 element sprag from Borg Warner, Ford sprag, and then on mine I use the Pro Series Ray Bestis band, a wide band that's 2 5/8, and I almost always replace the reverse input housing, which is the one that holds um, the reverse clutches in it, but that's what the band rides on. And then depending on what you're doing with it, whether or not I get 4 or 5-gear planets in it. Again, Michael, that depends on what you're doing with it. The one I built for L to the W, I used Ray Bestis blue clutches in it, which are a little more aggressive clutch. He's no longer got a stock engine in that car, so up the game in that one. Excuse me. Put some Ray Bestis blues in it, and did a lot of Sonics and goodies in it. Went through the TV valve, made sure it was where it needed to be, and She's going good. Yeah, and almost all of mine that I do, at any rate, will have I will put a Ray Besta Z pack in the 3/4 clutches. I've had no failures on those clutches that I've put in. So I think they work really well for most applications. All right, Michael. Take care. Thanks for stopping in. I sure appreciate it. Well, Doc, what I was getting at is like on CJ's when I had to go back in it, you know, uh his burnt the 3/4 clutches up. But it was like an 8 pack. But the problem is they're super thin. So they don't hold up well to heat. Um, when I went back together with it, I put a Z pack in it and had any trouble with it since then. But I've never had one come back with a 3/4 clutch failure. It's very true. But Doc, I know where you're going with that too, and I don't like to do things twice. I don't like to do them twice at work either. That absolutely drives me nuts. So I may take a little extra time to work on it just so I don't make sure it doesn't come back. My eyes are getting dried out. Sheesh me, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. I don't know that I can answer that, Doc, but I know that Ray Bestis makes all sorts of clutches, and so does Borg Warner. There's a couple other companies. I can't tell you what the name of the ones were um, that I put in this 9T65. I don't think they were Borg Warners. They were somebody else's. Um, but as the transmissions progress, uh, they try different ways to get holding power out of a lot of the clutches. So, on that note, Doc, I would prefer Ray Bestis. That's just my personal preference. I have used both, not had a problem with both. I think Ray Bestis has got a little better product. Ray Bestis has got a couple different lines. They're tougher to find than the stock stuff, but like Ray Bestis Blues, they've got a red clutch also that is super stout. A couple different versions. Doc, but I'm going to tell you that a lot of the clutches that GM uses are Borg Warners. I've never seen a Ray Bestis clutch in a GM stuff. It's usually Borg Warner or whoever their label is that they're having them make them for them. So I'm sure there's other companies out there that are doing them too. But at any rate, do. I can go to Harry's. Really? Well, that's a joke. Yeah, I don't see anything about the. I do see a couple of reruns in there, or yeah, reruns. Um, I'm sure a lot of it is the same as he's been doing at the other rallies too, talking about the same stuff. So um, I got to think that he's going to run again, but I don't know. Yeah, I know RSBN's on Rumble too, and I'm sure YouTube's getting to the point where they're trying to make sure that he doesn't run. He doesn't get a chance to run. I know, man, I know we're supposed to leave it in Lord's hands, but I'm going to tell you, I'm wondering if we're going to even make it the whole friggin' term with this jackass that we got in office now. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I seen that Elon bought Twitter. Well, I don't think he bought it, but he has more shares than anybody else. He's got like 9 or 10% more than Jack Dorsey's got. Trump, I shouldn't have said that because I'll probably get deleted now. The 45 started a um, lawsuit, civil lawsuit against big tech. It's takeonbigtech.com. I guess is what the deal is. They're trying to get rid of the censorship, which they should. But the things that are happening overseas leads me to believe uh, that there's going to be a war of some sorts. I can't tell you for sure if it's going to happen, but um, I think they're preparing. They're really trying to prepare the U.S. for a hostile takeover by China. That's just my thoughts. I don't have any way to prove that, but just from watching what's going on, it kind of makes me wonder if that's where we're going with it. It's Ukraine is not our fight. It's just a diversion. Um, Ukraine's not as good as everybody thinks it is. You all need to do some research on that and look into it because they've done some really bad shit. And the um, I'm getting tired. Sorry. I know Russia started the whole thing, but I just think it could backfire. Everything that they're trying to do just to me sounds for a big setup. No, I know, and that's their mentality that they think that we don't know what we're doing or don't know anything. And I'm just there needs to be more people that open up their eyes, do some more research, get out there, get involved. Uh, try to get things to pay attention to things that are going on. Oh, shoot. Yeah. Speaking of women running for Congress, do you see that freaking bag Abrams was running for governor of Georgia again? She lost the first time. I hope she loses really bad this time. Uh, she is as far left as you can get, and like I said, I hope she loses bad. Anyway, well, folks, yeah, that's the one. Um, I'm gonna call tonight. I'm trying to. My eyelids are wanting to go down and lights out, so I'm going to call tonight. So thank you all so much for stopping by. Um, as always, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless you. And God bless the U.S. of A. We'll see you later.